Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on really a miracle of a show. Normally when I have people here, I love to go back to the beginning because it's an audience of SAG actors and sort of talk about getting your SAG card. But you're all British. So actually I thought I would just sort of start by asking, who were the actors when you were, thinking about becoming an actor that you really admired growing up or sought to maybe even emulate?
Are you asking me, sorry?
Yeah, totally.
Oh. I think Tom Holland was the person that I always looked to.
Oh, you're so young.
Like when I first watched The Impossible, I think that was the first film that I watched where I wanted to start becoming an actor because of him, and I wanted to do what he was doing. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't really look up to many actors, and
That's probably wise. Yeah.
But I'll just go Tom Holland. Yeah.
Have you met Tom Holland? Because I know you live on a small island. I would think
it's not very small.
Cross paths.
But that was also Tom's first film.
That's right.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, after coming off Billy Elliot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ashley, for you?
There's an actor / comedian in the UK called Lenny Henry.
Of course.
And he had a stint out here actually back in the day when but he was like the first. I mean, it's a bit different because he was the first black man I saw on TV in like a leading role, and that was really inspiring for me. So yeah.
Erin, for you?
It's so cliche, but I am a Meryl gal.
Of course. We're in
My
her
dad
theater
gave
now.
me like a stack of DVDs, and I watched Bridges of Madison County, Kramer versus Kramer, Sophie's Choice. Like, I just devoured it, and I was absolutely obsessed. Like, I would watch and rewatch particular scenes just to really kind of hone in on what she was doing. I still do it. Like, I find her she's mega.
Does She-Devil fit in there anywhere?
She-Devil.
Yes.
I've never seen that one. No. All
her and
right, let's go
Roseanne
another
Barr.
list. Blimey hell, there's another one out there I haven't done. Okay. I'll do that.
So too. I think it is.
Love it.
It was not well received at the time, but I love it. Yeah.
I bet she gives a good performance.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Stephen, for you?
Mine's an actor called Drew Schofield.
Okay.
Drew lived across the road from me nana's house. And he was on telly every week in a brilliant show called Scully. He was also in an amazing thing on telly called Boys from the Black Stuff. And he also played Johnny Rotten in Alex Cox's Sid and Nancy. So to me, Drew spoke like me, and he lived across the road. So he showed me that it was obtainable, that I could become an actor. Because if you can see it, then you can do it, similar to what Ashley's saying. So Drew, from day one, is my biggest inspiration as an actor.
So cool. Have you ever gotten to work together? Or?
Yeah, I did something. I got him to play me dad. Yeah.
Oh, in what?
Yeah. It was no. He never played. We got him in Help. Dad. We got him to play Jodie's dad in Help, and I did a little film. It was a bit crap, but
just a bit.
But it was a bit crap. It was about a fella. But he played my dad in that, and it was called Walk Like a Panther. It was a little comedy, and he played my dad in that.
All right. More for you to look up tonight after you finish She-Devil. Walk Like a Panther. Well, again, thank you so much for being here, and congratulations on a fantastic show. I just want to start with Stephen and Jack, because obviously this series is about so many things, masculinity and violence and social media and bullying. Can you sort of talk about what the initial impetus was, or the idea for the series, and why you wanted to tackle these topics right now?
It originated just from I think it was many things really, not being aware of all the influences that I'd actually soaked into my head. But there was one specific incident which it was in Liverpool, where I'm from, and a young girl, a 13-year-old girl, was stabbed to death by I think he was a 15-year-old lad, and it was him and two of her mates, and she was with their mates, and it was literally just a month before Christmas, and it was at like 5:00 in the town centre. And that was one of the things that made me just think, what's happening with our society today? And then there was a young girl who was lured, a young trans girl who was lured into the park in Leeds, remember? By those Brianna. Yeah, thank you, Jack. Brianna. And she was stabbed to death. And I just really thought about what's happening, what's going on. Why are young people killing each other, especially, but it was predominantly young boys killing young girls, you know what I mean? I just wanted to try and have a look at that, and with that idea came into my head, and I knew there was only one person that could write it, and that was Jack.
I mean, when he comes to you with an idea, you've collaborated several times before. Is it, an instantaneous?
I've read his words several times before. This is the first time we've worked.
Really?
As a writing set. Yeah. I've had the honour and the privilege to speak Jack's words.
Yes. What was sort of your reaction though when he came to you with this idea?
Oh, I just say yes when Stephen calls. Whatever it is, I just say yes. And I think that's true for quite a lot of people on this panel.
Yes.
He is a fearless leader of men and women, and I love him. And so whatever he
I'm
says...
Spartacus. Thank you very much.
So whatever he says, I go for. But with this, it felt very special right from the start because, it was right from the start, it was a one-shot project. And the second thing was we were tackling something that meant a lot to me, and the further we went into it, the more it meant. The more we discovered through the research, the more this became a powerful story to tell. And so, I feel like the luckiest writer in Britain, but also the world. So,
How long ago did you start writing it? Because unfortunately, I think this is always going to be timely, but more so than ever when it came out.
I think it was 22. Could have been 21. Everything sort of blurs into each other, doesn't it, after a while?
Yeah.
But I'm 46. It's fading. My brain is fading. I think it was around then. And then we worked very hard on episode 1 as we were trying to work out episodes 2, 3, and 4. It was a beautiful process.
Yeah. You referenced that people frequently collaborate with Stephen, and both Ashley and Erin, you've worked with him before. Both most recently, I guess, on 1,000 Blows, which is another great series, but different streamer, so we won't talk about it. Is it the same sort of thing where, if he comes and asks, it's an instant yes? And when did you first sort of hear about this project?
For me, it was like one of our last days on that job, and it was me and Stephen on set, just us that one whole day. And I was like, what are you up to? And you started to speak to me about this project. And I'd seen Boiling Point and I was like, that sounds incredible. I knew about the one-shot thing. And it ended there. And then a couple of months later, you rang me up and you were like, do you want to be a part of it? And I didn't even read the scripts. I just said, as Jack said, yeah. Like, if Stephen's asking me to do something, I'm going to do that thing. So then it was lovely to read the scripts and be like, oh, this is going to be the real deal.
Yeah.
It's great.
Would have been a disaster if it was shit, wouldn't it? But,
Oh, man.
but we knew it wouldn't be. I mean, it's Jack, it's Stephen, and like Jack said, you never say no to Steve. I think mine was it was like a phone call, wasn't it? It was a phone call, and he was like, "You're going to play a copper, and this is going to be the best role you've ever done." And I was like, Steve, but I played a copper before. He's like, not like this copper. And he was right.
Yeah.
So
Zero lies detected. You do frequently collaborate with people. It's almost like a theater company of people that you seem to pull from.
I just like to work with good people.
Yeah.
There's too many twats out there. Do you know what I mean?
know.
I don't, and I'm at an age now, I'm 51, I don't really want to work with gobshites. If I can help it, which, most of the time now I'm in a nice position where I can help it. And I love talent. I love actors. I love wonderful people. Do you know what I mean? We don't have long on this planet, so I want to make the most of my time. And good people, just, it's you. Everyone's amazing, so why don't you want to be with these people as often as you can? And my wife, she's amazing as well, don't get me wrong. I like to be with her as often as I can. That's why I did spend 3 years working with us. So yeah, it's just, you kind of you reach an age in your life where you think it's too short, we don't have long, and I just want to be with wonderful people and make beautiful work. That's all.
When you're casting someone new who maybe you haven't worked before, do you have any way of knowing what they're going to be like on set?
No, you can kind of detect rather quite quickly. Do you know what I mean? Someone's laughing there because I think we have a bullshit sensor these days. Do you know what I mean? You reach, like I said, you reach an age where it's like, okay, you can see, you just want to be around people who are truthful and honest and decent people. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day.
Absolutely. And obviously, so much of the show hinges on the casting, but specifically the role of Jamie. This is a tall order for any actor, let alone, I'm just going to keep saying it, making your acting debut in this series. And I believe you shot episode 3 for your first day on a professional set was episode 3?
Episode 3, yeah.
So it's all easy from here. I'd love to know, from Shaheen, where did you even begin this search for this character?
So we decided the story was set in the north of England, but not in a specific town. So we sort of chose 5-6 cities in the north of England to start the search. And the search really, we sort of covered lots and lots of different places. You cover schools, drama groups, youth groups, sports groups, anywhere that young people might hang out. We did street casting, we used social media. We also looked, within the system at young professional actors. And that can take months because you research an area, you figure out all the people you need to speak to, people that work in the local community that work with young people. So it took I think in total it was maybe about 4 months.
Wow.
3-4 months.
Yeah.
And Owen, where did you first hear about the role in the audition?
Well, I was in a little agency, and I was going to drama classes once a week, and then I got loads of like self-tapes to do for like small British shows. But when Adolescence came, it was like it was a weird one because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know that it was Netflix. I didn't know Stephen was in it. I didn't know any of the cast. I only knew the director, and I did my research of him and seen that he's done loads of stuff with Stephen before.
Yeah.
So I had a feeling Stephen was going to be a part of it. And then I did a self-tape for it, and then a month later, after I sent the self-tape off, I got a recall in Manchester with the director, Phil. And then I did that. I got on with the director quite well. And then I had like 3 or 4 more auditions, and then I did a chemistry test with Stephen. And then me and Stephen just got on really well. We clicked straight away, and then I think I had. Oh no, that might have been the last audition before I got the part, or maybe there was one more, and then I did like 5 or 6 more auditions, and then I got the part.
Were you? I mean, you knew who Stephen was. Were you at all intimidated going in there? And
Well, he
doing a
is
scene with
quite
him?
scary looking after watching This Is England. But yeah, he's a nice guy. He was all right.
I'd love to hear from Shaheen and Jack and Stephen, if you can sort of walk us through the process on your end of finding your Jamies. How many meetings or work sessions were there? How long did it take? You said 4 months?
It took about 4 months, and we had, I think, approximately about 600 video submissions that came in, and then we had about 50 submissions from sort of young professional actors, and then from that we did just lots of callbacks, working in the room with an actor called Robbie O'Neill, who's also in the show, and Faye McKeever, and we did lots of sort of bringing in small groups of people at a time, and then we eventually sort of worked towards workshopping in the room with Stephen.
But that process as well, Shaheen, wasn't it? Didn't Phil say an improvisation, sending a tape where?
Yes.
Because that was quite.
Yeah. So the very first stage was to do an improvisation where, in one version you were guilty, and in one version you were innocent.
Oh.
And it could be anything.
Was it? Did you provide any of the script, or they just had to?
We just gave them a
Really?
very, very brief scenario, and then told them to just.
Oh, and that was your first self-tape?
No, I
Okay.
had a couple more self-tapes that
Yeah.
before.
A self-tape for Coronation Street.
Yeah.
Didn't get the part though, thankfully.
But your first tape was an improvisation.
Yeah, for us, your
Yeah.
first
First
tape.
take
That
for
was your
this.
first tape you did for us, wasn't
Yeah, it was like you had to walk into the headmaster's office.
Yeah.
First one where you was guilty, the second one where you was innocent.
it? Yeah.
So.
And you came up with the lines on your own and everything? Just
Oh yeah. You had to come up with the lines. You weren't given any script. So yeah.
Wow. Did you have any idea what you were in for, or even that it would be
no
one
idea. I
take?
just sent it off. Could have been anything. So.
Yeah. You probably didn't even think twice about it, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, were you ever concerned? Like, what if you didn't find your Jamie?
Well, no, because you've got one of the best in the business who's looking for them. Do you know what I mean? Shaheen's phenomenal. She always finds wonderful talent, especially creating opportunities for people who would not necessarily have those opportunities. Do you know what I mean? So we knew we were going to find him. We just knew it'd take a long time. But the process he did after, it was a grueling process that he went through. And then that final workshop, we got it down to 5. There was 5 of them, 5 young lads. And the beauty of what we've managed to do with our show, I think, which is different from other shows, is each one of those young lads is in the piece. We offered them the opportunity to still be in the piece, whether they got the role of Jamie or not. And we said to them, it's not about your talent or your ability.
Yeah.
It's just you mightn't be right for this particular role, but you're still an exceptional talent, and we believe in you, and we would love you to be a part of our piece. Because, you know, and that came about when we were having a chat, and I went, I can't break the little hearts. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't seem right to go, right, nice one, now away you go, which a lot of that happens in this industry. You know what I mean? I don't mean to be disrespectful, but that's kind of the norm. And we wanted to show them that we believed in them, and they all had an ability to be a part of it.
I mean, people are going to there's going to be more no's than yeses. And I am sort of curious for the actors here, you know, how you feel about the audition process. And have you sort of like made your peace with, you know, giving an audition and then walking away and leaving at the end of the day?
I hate it. I hate tapes. I hate the whole process. And I think, to be fair, it's never, you know, you're never doing what you're actually going to do. Yeah. You know, there's a skill to it because you're trying to impress these people in a certain way, but actually when you perform, it's completely different. But I have got used to the rejection. I feel like, you know, people only see the 5% of the 100% that you actually get. You know, and everyone's like, wow, whatever. But there are like loads of jobs that just don't go your way. And you have to be thick-skinned in this game. You really do. What do you think?
I mean, I always remember I watched a little clip of Bryan Cranston saying, like, he kind of made peace with it in the sense that he would see the audition as your one opportunity to play this character. And regardless of whether you got it or not, give your all to this one go, like your one go at doing it, and then you can let it go, because if you get the part, great, but if not, you gave your best performance. Like, you got to put that person on for that meeting. And the minute that I shifted my mindset in that way, every meeting is now an opportunity. And I actually don't call them auditions anymore. I call them meetings, because I'm like, I'm just going to go in and meet about this person. Like, whereas like the word audition I find terrifying, so I just took it off the table. I was like, I'm not going to call them auditions anymore. I'm going to go in and I'm going to meet for this person, give my go, and then if they want it, they do. And if they don't, then good luck to you. That's it. But yeah, it was all about mentality. So yeah, but I agree. Like, it took a while to get there because they're really intimidating things. But yeah.
Stephen, having been on the other side as an actor, what's it like for you, you know, as a producer? You must have a special empathy for people who come in and read.
Absolutely. Do you know what I mean? Look, and I'm dyslexic, so my ass goes when I'm in an audition. Do you know what I mean? Especially if they go, right, read that. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. It's a horrific process, I think, personally. Because you can never really give the all, and what you're like. Ashley's just hit the nail on the head beautifully. You're about 5% of where you're ever going to go, and you're probably never saying that though. There's occasionally what was good for me was being able to do tapes at home. When that became a thing during lockdown kind of thing. That was really good for me, and even before then, actually, I remember years ago when I had to put myself on tape. And this is why the tape process for me was a lot kinder. Because of my dyslexia, I used to panic and I get very nervous, do you know what I mean? But being at home, it kind of made me relax, and I'm there with me missus, and I can do the lines and play with the lines. But I auditioned, I'll never forget this one, I auditioned on tape for Michael Mann for, what was that one with Johnny Depp?
Public Enemies,
yeah, Public Enemies, to play Babyface Nelson. And I did the audition, but he had a machine gun in it and all that. So I grabbed our Alfie's plastic golf club and pretended it was a machine gun, and I did the scene and and then just sent it off. And you never know what's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? It's pot luck, away it goes. And then I got the part. And then when I'm there, I felt really guilty because all these American actors were sitting in the room and that, and they were like, "So how many auditions did you?" But some of them have been through a process. They've been called back about 50. One of them had been called back 15 times.
Jeez.
And exactly. And I was like, 15 times? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, shit. And he went, he went, how many times did you get called back? And I went, I just did a tape, and he was like, "What?" And then it was a really strange situation because we're in this corridor, and it was like waiting for the king. It was wonderful, Michael, man. He's a lovely man, and he came walking down, and everyone's we're all in the line, and I'm like, oh, and this is the first time everyone's meeting him after being chosen to play the role. And it was a really interesting situation, and he comes back and he goes, Stephen. I'm like, all right, I hadn't met him. I was like, all right, mate. And he went, your tape was fantastic with your son's golf club. And I was like, oh. So that, to me, it was that little thing where you can think outside the box.
Yeah.
I couldn't have gone into an audition room with a plastic golf club and gone, they'd have thought I was a lunatic. So that process to me, being able to do it at home, made a massive difference.
Shaheen, because we do have so many actors here, is there anything you would want them to know if they're lucky enough to come in that room and have some time with you? I know casting directors are rooting for actors.
Absolutely. And I think that it's the casting director and the casting team's responsibility to make the audition room feel as safe and warm as possible. It should never not feel that. And also, when actors come in to have meetings, it's just a sketch. We're just playing around. We're just sort of feeling around the scene. I'm never looking for the perfect read because that doesn't exist. It's the very, very start of a process. So I just think of it as we experiment a bit around what's on the page, and then you go on a process. So I don't expect actors to come in and just absolutely nail it, because I don't know what that is. I think you're just coming in and you're playing around, and it's all to do with what the sort of energy is in the room, isn't it? And you can go in and it can feel like a very unfriendly environment, or it can feel like a very safe environment. And the safer the space, the better you're going to feel about what you're doing.
How often does it happen for you, and also for the two of you as writers, that actors come in and their performances shift the way you thought about the character, and maybe something you didn't know you were looking for presents itself?
I mean, that can happen all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the joys of meeting people in the room, is that sometimes an actor can walk in and play a scene in a completely different way to how you imagined it, but it's equally brilliant, and they can turn the role on its head. So that's the joy, actually, of seeing actors in the room. But then equally, actors can also do a tape that is fantastic. But there's something about, working with an actor in the room that is still brilliant. And especially if you're just starting out and you're just graduating, it's really important to meet people in the room, because I think so much is done by tape now, or Zoom. You don't have that sort
Connection.
of connection.
I think you want to be excited.
Yeah.
And sometimes the unusual is what excites you. Me and Steve, the first show we worked on together was this show, This Is England, and there was this character in it called Woody. And Woody was supposed to be built like a lorry. He was supposed to be this big man that could take people with you. And this guy called Joe Gilgan turned up, and he was thin and he was wiry and he was all over the place.
Covered in plaster.
And he was covered in plaster. He was.
Covered in plaster.
And he just became Woody, and he was just this extraordinary thing. So that's the thing, you're looking for that spark, and that spark can come from any form of person. And the more free you are with that, with the possibilities of what something can be, the better the result you get.
And when he left the room, we all went, "What was that? What just happened?" And it was like, I don't know, but it's got to be him, surely. That was it. I remember that was amazing, wasn't it? Yeah.
I'd love to know about the preparation for these roles. Actually, Owen, how did you find out you got the part?
I came back from school and my mum told me.
Did someone call her, or?
I've got no idea, but she just told me that I got the part when I got back from school. So yeah.
What did you think? Did you do anything to celebrate, or?
Not really. I was really happy. I didn't celebrate, but yeah, I was buzzing. Actually, no, buzzing. You said it yesterday. Yeah. No one really understands what buzzing means in America, so I was really excited. Is what buzzing means.
Thank you for translating. But again, taking on this role would be a tall order for anyone. But how did you even begin to prepare with, knowing it was going to be in one take, doing scenes with, these powerhouses?
I think the one take was it was scary. It was terrifying, obviously. But when Phil, the director, told me that it was going to be 4 long takes, I was terrified, because I didn't think I was ever going to be able to do it. So, and then the script for episode 3 came, and I was looking, and I was just waiting for a break of my lines, but there just wasn't a break. So I was just highlighting. But yeah, I just grafted the script. I didn't really prepare mentally for the role. I just turned up, and I didn't know what to expect, really. I just went with what I was told, and then the script was the big worry for me because I didn't think I was going to be able to learn it. But yeah, I just studied it, and I worked hard on it, and then I got it perfect.
First day of rehearsals,
Really?
he was script down. In fact, first day of rehearsals, Phil said, "Should we do a read through now?" And then waited for Owen to get out his script, and Owen said, "All right." And Phil said, "Okay, do you need your script?" And he said, "No, I've got it." And he just did it all perfectly. It was amazing.
Yeah. Erin, I think you guys met for the first time on that day. At what point did you realize you could relax? This kid has it.
It was probably from that moment that Jack just described. Like, I was like, okay, I'm in the room with a pro. Like it, and then from that moment on, literally, and to this very day, like, I've never thought about your age. Like, your age doesn't come into it. You're just an actor. You just are. So it all nerves went out the window then, because I was like, in the build up, I was like, how the hell are they going to find a kid who can do this? And yeah, I rocked up on day 1, and then you sat down, and I was like, all right, we're going to be fine. It was Owen. Like, you're supposed to do this, and I'm so grateful that I got to be in the room with you for your first go at it. It's been really, really special.
I'm always so curious about, putting people together and casting a family, because the other actors in Eddie's family, you really do feel like a family with all that history. Is there any way to build that? And also Luke's son, they have obviously a more troubled past. But when you're introduced to like an actor, is there a way to sort of prepare that history, or do you just cast good actors and hope it works?
I think it's definitely down to casting. As well. I'd never met Amari before, who played my son, but we just hit it off. We did do about like 2 or 3 escape rooms.
Really?
Yeah, in Leeds.
Which ones?
And I learned a lot about him from that. I tried
Competitive?
This kid, he was just standing in the corner the whole time. I was like,
No.
I've got your number.
Was it just the two of you?
It was me, him, his mum. He had his brother with him, so we all went together. But it was really cool, like bonding time.
Yeah.
And that helped us. And just kind of being open and like, allowing him to talk to me about script and character and stuff. So we just generated that relationship. But it doesn't always work that way, as probably a lot of you know in there. Like, you can try your hardest to kind of charm the person you're working with sometimes, and it just doesn't click. But it did for us. And I think that's down to casting and these guys just picking the right people.
Yeah. Sorry, Jack, do you want to say?
Well, I was just going to say about Chrissy. So one of the beautiful things in this cast is Chrissy and Jamarco, and the two of them have known each other since they're teenagers.
Really?
No, since before. Our mums were best mates.
What?
So we've known each other from like birth, basically.
Wow.
But that just through osmosis just came to life. And what was beautiful as well in many respects, when we were going through the script, because as well, one of the beautiful processes of this actual, this way of working is we're given the script on day 1 of the first week of shoot, which leads up to the shoot. We're given a script, and it's a brand new script. And we work on it together. So we go through every single line, we go through every single motivation, you look at the actions, you really begin to understand the subtext of the reasons why you're saying it. But in that same respect, what we did was, remember, we built our family history while we were there in that room. We spent the first week just sat with the script in a living room in our house, in the Miller's home. And that's where we really got to talk about it and bring it to life. And me and Christine used a lot of our history and, our uncles and stuff like that. And we're both from the same place as well in Liverpool called Kirby. So we brought a lot of that sentiment and a lot of that history from where we come from to it. But in the same respect, that's when we started to get to know each other, didn't we? And Amelie as well.
Yes.
Christine's relationship with Amelie was beautiful. They just clicked instantly. They became mother and daughter. The same way me and him, when he came into that room for that first workshop, I just looked at him and I said, look, from now on, I'm your dad and you're my son. And he looked me right in the eyes, looked right into my soul, and he just went, okay. And that was it. That was the moment where it clicked, didn't it? I was like, all right, yeah, bang, he's my boy. And that's what we kind of went forward with. But it was a lot of history doing that together with the text.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We made the text come alive together in the room.
I'm thinking not only is it this is your first time really in front of a camera and learning the logisticals of how everything works. Were you ever overwhelmed?
Overwhelmed of what? What do you mean?
Just the pressure. Yeah, I know.
I wasn't at all.
No,
That's
that's good. That's
because he
probably
doesn't
healthy.
think like that. Do you know what I mean? He just does. He just is. He has the presence of being, and he's just magnificent.
There was a moment when I had to break it to Owen that on a conventional set you'd have to do the same scene 36 times, and he was like, "Really? That sounds
Now
awful."
no.
Yeah.
Has this spoiled you for any other future acting projects?
What, doing Adolescence?
Yeah.
No, I'd do the one shot again.
You did?
If Stephen was to ring me up saying we're doing a one shot again, maybe not Adolescence, I wouldn't do Adolescence again, but if he was to do another
Anything
one shot,
else?
anything else, I'd say yes.
He did go straight on to another job after us, though, and I went, "How's the job going?" He's going, "Yeah, it's all right. You have to do it all the time. You spend all day doing the same thing." It's like, and I went, "That's called acting, my dear boy." And he was like, "Yeah, we've got it right once. Why do I have to do it again?" Do you know what I mean? So that's great.
Finally, I'm just sort of curious about, the response to the show has been so insane. And it's not just people who want to talk about it, but they want to talk very personally, and share experiences and really thank you to some extent. What has that been like, and you all get to share sort of in this experience. Has it caught you off guard at all?
Ash?
Yeah, it's surreal. It's surreal. I'll be honest, it's surreal even sitting here. The last few days has been crazy for me. It's something I've never done before, working in the States, kind of meeting people out here and just seeing how it's just sparked conversation all around the world. And it's genuine because I believe there's many parents that watch this show that were finding it difficult to have a certain conversation with their youngsters. And this show kind of gave them permission to do that, which is great. You never kind of go into work trying to really change the world. It's not about, we don't want to be a public service announcement. We're trying to make a good show that entertains people. But when you get something that speaks to the world like this, it's a great bonus, and I'm really proud, really.
Erin?
Well, you just literally, you said it all. But yeah, it kind of, stuff like this restores my faith in humanity, because you're like, you'll always come to the light from the dark. Like, the dark place was the impetus to tell the story, like the fact that exists. But how incredible that then you got to sit down with an amazing writer, get that onto paper, we made it, and then the world soaks it up as readily as they were. It's they were just gagging to have that conversation. And I just think it all comes full circle, and how incredible that people were so ready to engage in it and to be like, how do we sort this out? I just think, as Ashley said, to be a part of something like that is everything that you can ever wish for. And the fact that it's come from this gorgeous group of people is just it's a cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake. It's just, everything is just glorious about this whole process. Yeah.
Anyone else?
I'll add to that. Like what Erin and Ashley just said, the goal was to spark conversation in the homes, but I think it was a massive shock of the success that the show did. But it should not take a Netflix show for parents to start speaking to the children.
Mm-hmm.
It should just be instinct in the house. Wow. It should not take a show on Netflix to do that. It should just be there. So yeah.
I'm sorry, how old are you again? I'm being serious. I'm not actually sure.
15.
Tom Holland better look out for you. Stephen?
Jack, have you got anything to add?
No, I think he said it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, wow. That's amazing what you just said.
Thank you.
Just the pride in look, it was an idea from in here and it's come into fruition. And as Ashley said, sitting here today, to me, it's mind-blowing. We and I've said this analogy of, we made this beautiful little gem with love, care, compassion and kindness and, a hell of a lot of talent, both in front and behind the camera. And we threw this beautiful little gem into what we thought was a lake. It landed in the sea and it created a tsunami. And it just, it caught something in the zeitgeist and off it went. And our only objective when we wrote this in the very beginning was to try and create some kind of conversation. And the fact that it's done that, it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm just extremely grateful, and I feel very blessed to be a part of, like everyone said, and I'm not just saying it for effect, it's a proper little family. We feel like we're on a school trip over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was going to say, are you going to
And it is a
Disneyland
school
while you're
trip.
here? Or?
Probably not. We're going to go to the beach, though, on Saturday. We're gonna go to the beach. We've been told not to swim in the water, but we're still going to go to
Yeah,
the beach.
no. Unless you have a wetsuit.
Yeah, of course. But it's, it's just, and it just shows you. And at the end of it, I think ultimately, irrespective of what it's done socially or politically or, in that respect, what it's done, at the end of the day, it's a solid piece of work that we're all extremely proud of.
Absolutely. Well, again, all episodes are streaming now on Netflix. Has anyone seen this for the first time today? Wow. Okay, well, you're in for a treat because there's 2 more. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you all. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.